You know, from the very first burial rituals all the way to our deepest philosophical debates, there's one idea that has just fascinated humanity more than anything else: the whole concept of soul death and resurrection. So today, we're going to dive into this profound mystery.
It is the ultimate question, right? The one that kind of pops into your head in those quiet moments. It's a question that has driven religion, art, and science for thousands of years because it touches on both our deepest fear, that it's all just over, and our greatest hope, that there's something more.
And for most of human history, the go-to answer for that huge mystery has always revolved around one single powerful idea: that we have a soul, an essential part of us that keeps on going long after our physical journey has ended. But what exactly is this soul that so many traditions talk about? All right, let's break down this universal concept. So, across so many different cultures, the soul is basically understood as the immortal, non-physical part of us. The core idea is pretty simple. While our bodies are temporary, the soul is eternal. It's the very essence of who we are, the part that continues the journey after physical death. Now, this concept of the soul is really the foundation for a lot of faiths. So let's take a look at how three of the world's major Abrahamic religions have each interpreted the soul's journey after death. So when you look at this comparison, a clear pattern starts to show up. Both Christianity and Islam really emphasize a final, one-time judgment that's based on how you lived your life, and that leads to a permanent afterlife. Judaism also shares the belief that the soul returns to God, but its traditions have a wider range of possibilities, with some ancient texts even bringing up the idea of reincarnation. Of course, this all leads to a pretty big question. How is this concept seen once you step outside the framework of organized religion? And that question brings us right into the modern era, where this ancient mystery of the soul is being looked at through the completely different lenses of science and philosophy. And this creates a really fascinating philosophical tug of war. On one side, you have this profound mystery of consciousness, that inner voice, that feeling of being me. It just feels like it has to be more than just brain chemistry, right? But then, on the other hand, the laws of physics and biology seem to be telling us that when the brain stops, well, everything stops.
And yet, science hasn't completely closed the book on this. I mean, while solid proof is, well, not there, researchers are actually seriously investigating phenomena that challenge our purely physical view of the world. This includes some really rigorous studies into near-death experiences, where people who were clinically dead report these incredibly vivid, structured experiences of being conscious. And then, in a totally different field, you have researchers who are systematically documenting cases of young children who seem to have these verifiable memories of past lives. So yeah, the investigation is far from over. So even with all these different frameworks, religious, philosophical, and scientific, we are still left with some profound and, well, enduring mysteries. Think about it. If the soul is truly non-physical, how could it even be judged? How could it experience anything without the brain and the body that create all our senses and memories here on Earth? And to take that a step further, if our souls really are eternal, existing outside of time and space as we know it, how does that change the traditional relationship between a mortal human and a divine creator? And finally, here's a classic challenge for theologians. If there is a divine plan for everything, how does that pit with the idea that we are truly responsible for our own actions? The very actions that are supposed to determine our soul's ultimate fate. So, with all these competing ideas and all these massive unanswered questions, why does this concept of the soul still stick around? What meaning does it actually hold for us in our lives, right here, right now? At the end of the day, there's no single answer that's just handed down to us. The power of this idea is that each one of us gets to decide what it means, whether we see the soul as a literal reality, a powerful metaphor, or something else entirely. But no matter what you believe, just wrestling with this concept kind of forces us to look at some fundamental truths. It reminds us that our time here is precious and it's short, which pushes us to cherish every single moment. It shows us that our existence has layers of complexity and wonder that we often just ignore in our day-to-day lives, and it points toward a world just full of hope and possibility. Maybe the greatest thing we get from all of this is a sense of humility and just awe. Whether a soul lives on or not, just asking the question makes us face the incredible mystery of what it means to be alive. And it leaves us with this really powerful recognition that the nature of our existence is, and maybe always will be, far more complex than we can ever imagine.